We are going to factor each polynomial completely. If the polynomial is not factor, write prime. And in comparison to yesterday, these ones are take a little bit more time. But we're going to start by multiplying 7 times 6. There's where I got those. If you see those two dots on there, 7 times 6. And 7 times 6 is 42. Then we're going to look at all the factors of 42, which are 1 times 42, 2 times 21, 3 times 14, and 6 times 7. And what we're looking for is we're looking for factors that combine to be 19. And combine means that they either add or subtract to be 19. And what we see is that 2 and 21 can give us 19. In fact, it's going to be 2 minus 21. So when we write this down, we're going to write down 7x squared plus 2x minus 21x minus 6. And then here's a group, and here's a group. And what we're looking for is we're looking for the greatest common factor. Well, in the first group, the greatest common factor is simply an x. It's the lowest exponent of the variables. There's nothing in common between 7 and 2. And when we factor it out, what we're going to do is we're going to take 7x squared divided by x, which is 7x, and 2x divided by x, which is 2. Watch out for the sign here. There's a minus in here. So when we come back over here, the greatest common factor in the next group, the biggest number that divides into both 21 and 6 is 3. And again, watch out for the sign, because when we figure out what goes in the parentheses, it's negative 21 divided by negative 3, which is positive 7x. It should have been negative 21x divided by negative 3. And then negative 6 divided by negative 3, which is positive 2. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this parentheses and this parentheses to be the same. And they are now. And then we can finish factoring. 7x plus 2 times x minus 3. Problem number 2. Again, the difference on these today, and we mixed them up a little bit, but the difference today is that there's a number in front of the x squared term. So when we want to figure out things on this one, we're going to take 2 times 10, which is 20. And the factors of 20 are 1 and 20, 2 and 10, and 4 and 5. And what we're looking for is we're looking for the pair that combines to be 1. And that means they either add or subtract to be 1. And we can get 1 from here. It's going to be negative 4 plus 5. We're splitting the middle here. But then we write down the 2x squared and the minus 10. And then it's minus 4x plus 5x. By the way, you could have written plus 5x first and then minus 4x second. It's not going to make a difference. It'll change the order a little bit, but that's it. And here in our first group, our greatest common factor, the biggest number that divides into both 2 and 4 is 2. And then between x squared and x, it's x. When we factor that out, 2 divided by 2 is 1. X squared divided by x is x. 4x divided by 2x is 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. X divided by x is 1. 2 times 1 is 2. The sign here is plus. Greatest common factor, the biggest number that divides into both 5 and 10 is 5. 5x divided by 5 is x. 10 divided by 5 is 2. And again, what we're looking for is we're looking for these two parentheses to be the same. That's why we have to be really careful with that sign. But we get x minus 2. And then what's not the same is the 2x plus the 5. Problem number 3. Nice thing on this particular problem is that there's no number written in front of the y squared term in this particular problem. So we do 1 times 54 is 54. And then the factors of 54 are 1 in 54, 2 in 27. Actually, 3 goes in there. Let's see, 54 divided by 3 is 18. And then we have 6 and 9. And what we're trying to figure out is, well, which of these combines to be 3? Combining meaning either adds or subtracts to be 3. And it's going to be the 6 and the 9. And it's going to be negative 6 plus 9. Again, we need to be really careful with the signs. So be thinking of the signs when you're working these out. It does not matter that we have a y or some different variable. We oftentimes use x, but it doesn't matter what letter we're using. And we're going to do minus 6y plus 9y. Again, we split the middle. And then what we're looking at is here's a group and here's a group. And we want the greatest common factor from each group. In our first group, the greatest common factor is y, the lowest exponent between those two terms. Y squared divided by y is y. We had 2 y's, we took out 1. 6y divided by y is 6. Our sign in here, which is important. Greatest common factor is 9. It's the biggest number that divides into both 9 and 54. 9y divided by 9 is y. 54 divided by 9 is 6. And once again, we've been successful because in each of the parentheses, we have a y minus 6, which is going to be one of our factors, one of our 2 factors, and then we've got y plus 9. Number 4. Looks like it's a new problem, and it actually is, but we need to go back to an older concept, and that is we need to deal with the fact that there's actually a greatest common factor in this problem. So if we take a quick look at it, 6 and 16 and 8 are all even numbers, so we have a 2. So we're going to take out a greatest common factor of a 2. 6x squared divided by 2 is 3. 16x divided by 2 is 8. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. The 2 that we just wrote down here as the greatest common factor that I'm putting dots on underneath it, that is a factor. So I'm going to write that down again. I'm going to put in brackets. That's just a personal thing. But now I'm going to take the 3 times the 4. 3 times 4 is 12. And look at the factors of 12. So we have 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. And what we're looking for, our middle this time, is going to be this 8x. So we need what's going to combine to be 8. And when we do, 2 plus 6 is going to give us 8. And as we fill this back in, I'm going to have 3x squared plus 2x plus 6x plus 4. Again, if you prefer, write the 6x where the 2x is. Write the 2x where the 6x is. It will not change anything in our factoring process. And now that we have grouped those together, then what we're going to do is we're going to still leave this 2, but the greatest common factor in the first group is an x. And when we factor out an x, 3x squared divided by x is 3x. We had 2 x's, we took out 1. 2x divided by x is 2. We had 1x, we took it out. Our sign is a plus. And the greatest common factor between 6 and 4, the biggest number that divides into both 6 and 4 is a 2. And when we factor it out, 6x divided by 2 is 3x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And now, what we see is we've got 3x plus 2 in each group. So we have 3x plus 2. We have our x plus 2. But again, when we started out, we had a 2 out there as our greatest common factor. Problem number 5, no number in front of our x squared term. So that's going to be helpful. And when we take a look at it, 1 times 10 is 10. And the factors of 10 are 1 and 10, and 2 and 5. It's all the same. We're splitting the middle. Whether there's a number in front of the x squared or not, we write down the x squared, we write down the minus 10. And what I forgot to do here, let's go back and do this, is that it's going to be 2 minus 5. That's what's going to combine to be negative 3. So when we split the middle here, plus 2x minus 5x, and then our pattern continues. Here, greatest common factor in the first group is an x. When we factor it out, we get x plus 2. We had 2 x's, we took out 1, we still have 1. 2x divided by x is 2. We had 1x, we took it out. Sign. Watch out for that sign. Greatest common factor, biggest number that divides into both is 5. Negative 5x divided by negative 5 is x. Negative 10 divided by negative 5 is positive 2. And now we can finish factoring for this one, because what we end up with is x plus 2, x minus 5. Again, I said it on the last video, if you want to check these, all that you have to do is go back and FOIL or double distribute. But the last problem on this video is going to be taking the 4 times the 3, which is 12, and factors of 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. We want to combine to be 1a. Again, notice a different variable, but it doesn't matter what the variable is. We want to combine to be 1, which is going to be the 3 and the 4. And in fact, it's going to be negative 3, positive 4. So we've got 4a squared and the minus 3. And then I happen to write minus 3a plus 4a. You might have written it as plus 4a minus 3a. Again, it doesn't make any difference on that particular order where you put the negative 3a and the 4a. Maybe it makes it a little bit easier for the factoring. I'm not sure. But the greatest common factor in the first group is only a. So 4a squared divided by a is 4a. We had 2 a's, we took out 1. 3a divided by a is 3. Watch out for that sign. Greatest common factor in the second one. Well, what we have here is we have 4a minus 3. And there's nothing in common in there. So we could say that there's a 1 for the greatest common factor. And when we finish, we've got 4a minus 3 and a plus 1.